Let's go live now to Amsterdam and to Michael Bossaque, former spokesperson for the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe and senior fellow with the Atlantic Council. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Donald Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, officially accepted his nomination Wednesday night. And while he didn't mention Ukraine in his speech, we of course know where he stands on the issue, rejecting any US military aid being sent to the war-torn nation. What would a Trump-Vance administration look like for Ukraine?
Sure, good to be with you, Rosemary. Well, I'm sure that's going to be top of discussion as European leaders gather in the United Kingdom to meet with the new prime minister there. I don't think European capitals have ever dealt with a vice president who claims he comes descending from hillbilly royalty. And, let's not forget, he's calling his future potential boss cultural heroin, noxious, and things like that. But what we do know is, or that we can surmise, I think, is that Mr. Vance will be the kind of pit bull for Mr. Trump. He will try to shake down countries like Ukraine, as Trump did earlier on. He will try to extract more spending for NATO from European capitals. And as those clips indicated that you played, they'll try to shift attention, I think, from the Ukraine war to a little bit more to Israel, but especially to Taiwan and China. Now, let's not forget, I mean, the way Trump treated Ukraine when he was president was really obnoxious and terrible. He tried to compromise Mr. Zelensky, let's not forget, trying to get dirt on his opponent in exchange for aid to Ukraine. And the other thing we know very well from Mr. Trump's statements is that he is going to claim that he can solve the Ukraine war even before Inauguration Day. And what we know from statements from Hungary's Mr. Orban is that that will involve inviting Russia to the table. It will probably involve territorial concessions on behalf of Ukraine. It will mean stopping aid to Ukraine and a number of other issues that will not be in favor of Kyiv.
And most of America's allies were already dreading the prospect of Donald Trump's return to the White House. But now we are seeing headlines suggesting Europe is looking at Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, with anxiety. What are some of those leaders across Europe doing to prepare for the possibility of a Trump-Vance administration? And what's their greatest concern?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think we saw this in the lead up to that NATO summit in Washington, D.C., where leaders were working, to their credit, very quickly, running against the clock to Trump-proof or future-proof aid to Ukraine. So that means, for instance, setting aside tens of billions of dollars in aid that is not reliant on the United States or U.S. taxpayer that much. Also, finally, getting what Ukraine needs in terms of advanced weaponry, those F-16s, more Patriot air defense systems, and also talk now of giving Ukraine the ability to strike further inside Russia. However, that is not enough for Ukraine to win this war. NATO has done things, for example, European leaders setting aside more weaponry, but also sending a senior NATO official to Kyiv, integrating Ukraine's system better with NATO. But things, as you know, Rosemary, are very, very bad in Ukraine right now, not only on the front line, but Ukrainian cities being struck relentlessly. There's not much time left before a potential Trump administration comes in.
And like Trump, Vance has repeatedly criticized NATO and its European members for not spending enough on their own defense. So what does Vance's nomination signal to NATO allies, do you think?
Well, we could take that speculation to the extreme, and we can, remember what Mr. Trump said, that if NATO members don't stump up the change for their membership, that he will give the green light to Russia to do whatever they like with these countries, which is an absurd thing to say, of course. It causes a lot of instability. But I think, to be honest, Rosemary, European leaders have already kind of baked in or factored in a potential Trump administration. Hence, they're making proper moves to become less reliant on the United States for things like aid to Ukraine. And, here the feeling, the fear rather, is very palpable. I mean, just a few kilometers from me yesterday, we had the 10th anniversary commemoration of the downing of MH17 by a Russian rocket. And Europe feels much, much more closer to Russia and much, much more in the threat path of Mr. Putin. So they will do everything possible to protect themselves from a further Russian advance. But again, they're running a bit too late, and that drip, drip, drip approach to aiding Ukraine has not worked very well in the past 2.5 years.
Michael Bossack in Amsterdam, many thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.